And please welcome to stage your moderator. Give it up for my friend, your friend. It is Tony Kim, everybody.
What is my life? I can't believe we all get to share this stage, experience this moment. Hey, any Star Trek fans in the house? Let's welcome to the stage the incomparable LeVar Burton! Happy Father's Day! Thank you. Have you had a chance to celebrate at all? I mean, it's been such a busy day today, so I don't know. But tonight.
There's been no celebration so far.
Yeah. I haven't got a text.
Unless you count this.
That's absolutely Not one of my kids has texted me today.
Let me see.
Pretty terrible, right? What's going on with this?
Johnny, I think we're over.
No. You're not actually hanging out afterwards. Let's just do that.
I got no Father's Day text.
Oh. Hey, text your dad.
From my children. Well, there you go.
All right. It's only going up from here, so. Brother man, I'm super excited, super honored. We're all honored to be able to spend a few moments with you. Thank you so much for being here. You know, I gotta say that Star Trek has been, it's been a part of my life since I was so young. As a young child, my older brother got me into, of course, the original series. And you know, when I watched that original series, the first thing I looked at, I saw was that, oh, there's an Asian dude flying that ship, you know, and he quickly became my favorite character. And you know, I grew up in this town in Texas where I was like the only minority, and so to see that sort of representation on screen like really meant a lot to me. And so when I heard that they were restarting Next Generations, now I'm in high school, and when that first episode I remember came on and experiencing it, just, you know, I immediately gravitated towards you and even to Data, because you know, you knew what it's like to be different and to be, you understood how important representation was. And you know, so I just got to say that thank you so much for just, you know, I know that it was at the time it was a partner role, but you know, you inspired a whole generation, you know, and you continue to do so.
As Michelle did for my generation. Representation matters. I think it's difficult, if not impossible, to grow up with a positive self-image unless you see yourself represented in the popular culture. It's just, it is brutal. It is brutal. So
I remember, you know, we'll jump into Star Trek for sure, but I gotta ask you, you know, even, again, at a young age, my first time I ever saw you was when you played Kuta Kinte in Roots. And you were just a kid. So with that, you know, there's been no role like that ever since. And so tell us, like, as a young kid, how did you get that role, and were you already aspiring to be an actor?
I was, yeah. I was enrolled at the University of Southern California, USC. You're from Orange County, you know. There you go. Yeah. Fight on, yes. Where are my Trojans? Woo-hoo. My Trojan. And I was a theater major. And as a sophomore, there was a notice on a call board one afternoon that there was a mini-series, like what a mini-series was called, Roots. And they were looking to see young black actors. And there were 3 of us in the drama school at that point that went out on the audition, and I kept progressing and progressing. So this was my first professional audition, and it not only changed my life, but it changed the way America looks at chattel slavery in this country. So that's the power of storytelling.
Even after many decades, I'm sure you've had many people, generations come to you and just tell you how much it has changed their lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been really lucky, Tony, in my career to have been involved in media, certainly, that is entertainment. That's the job, but that is also brought a little bit more to the table in terms of enlightenment, maybe, certainly education, right?
Speaking of education, I mean, Reading Rainbow. Over 2 decades of Reading Rainbow. Someone holding up a Reading Rainbow shirt. Yeah. It's incredible, right? Like when you're doing the show, you're not thinking, oh, it's going to have this huge cultural following. You're thinking, you're educating kids, and you're, but it's like, it's a phenomenon. It's crazy.
It was. A couple of weeks ago, we celebrated the 40th anniversary of Reading Rainbow. Our first episode was in 1983, June.
What's your fondest memories as you look back on the 2 decades of Reading Rainbow? Like, what's your fondest memory?
Oh man, so many. Because it was the greatest job in the world. Traveling around, meeting the interesting people that we interviewed, doing the amazing things we did. I mean, standing at the summit of Kilauea in mid-eruption for Hill of Fire episode. Flew a plane for Ruth Law, Throws a Nation. That was me landing that plane. No, that was me landing. Learned to dive. Became a Maui diver to shoot dive to the coral reefs in Florida Keys. I mean, just so many great adventures, right? It was a great job.
I'm sure you did a lot of growing up during that period, so how do you feel like you were changed from the day you started to when that completed?
When we started Reading Rainbow, I didn't have children, right? And when my son was born, who was 42 now, or it's 38 now. Good math. Once he was born, I started talking to him through the lens of the camera. And that really, I cherish that process of being able to speak, specifically to my son.
We'll get to audience questions in a moment. You see there's microphones over there. So, yes, Star Trek. Wow, like where do you even begin, right?
We'll begin at Picard season 3.
I'm sure everyone here says the same thing, but it's like every episode in my mind was blown. Every episode, I just cannot believe it. So, tell us about the experience of doing Picard season 3, being back together with the team, and what was that like?
We dared not think that this was ever going to happen. In fact, I was convinced it never would. I mean, that ship had sailed, right? So this was a complete surprise. And even though Jonathan, Marina, and Brent were in seasons 1 and 2 of Picard, Patrick sat us all, he bought us all dinner. Took us all out to dinner and said, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm returning to Star Trek, but it's Picard. I want to do a completely different thing. Reading between the lines. You're not in it. Actually, he was more explicit than that. He said, "You're not in it. It's just me." So when it became clear that this really was part of the plan for season 3, it was very exciting. Hats off to Terry Matalas and all the writers. It was glorious.
Without spoiling too much, and maybe some people in the audience maybe haven't seen it, was there a...
What are you waiting for? It's so good!
Is there a particular favorite moment from season 3, or maybe something behind the scenes or something that you really cherish?
All of us being together again in our spacesuits, working with my kid was pretty special. Having moved the baby along for the ride was very, very cool. she's known the cast her whole life, you know. So to see her earn her bones in that company was really pretty cool. It's a nice parent moment. Yeah, I guess, you know, I would wake up early and go in early because she always had an earlier call. Chicks do. Guys, with the exception of Michael Bloom. The guys, you know, didn't spend a whole lot of time in the makeup chair, but I really wanted to relish every single moment. Driving to work for every morning was really part of the experience.
What a moment, like it's an experience that you guys will have and cherish forever. So.
If, you know, there's a lot of chatter about, you know, what might happen, what could happen next with Legacy, and I'm absolutely fine. If this is it, then we went out on a high note that, as I said, never expected to happen. So it's all grits and gravy, as we say in my family.
Well, the production team did such a phenomenal job. Yeah, it's incredible. The recreation of the Enterprise D just was.
That was perfect. That was
it was perfect. From the viewer standpoint, it looked immaculate, perfect. But as you walked on set and on stage, did it feel like
it did.
Right back in it?
It was like being in a time machine, Tony, because we reverted. You know how, like, when you get together with your high school friends or your college friends, right, and you're right back there, right? It was like that, being on that set, being on the bridge of the Enterprise D. It was really, you know, Patrick got, you know, much sillier. It was extraordinary. And I don't think any of us were really prepared for how emotional it would be. We filmed, I think, 3 days on that set, I think. It was quite extraordinary.
Well, you know, as you look back on the decades of playing Geordi and where Star Trek has gone, all the places and how it's only gone to every corner of the universe, as you reflect back on it, like what are your thoughts of the character? Like, what are your thoughts of, you know, what has meant to you and what has like Star Trek meant to you over the years? Because, you know, as you've already alluded to, when you're young, you're thinking one thing, and then you're in career mode, and then you get in kids mode, and then you're grown kids mode, so you change. And so, as you changed, how has your appreciation of Star Trek changed?
Well, I think that's really pretty much reflected in Geordi's character arc in season 3 of Picard. Because when Terry, you know, when we had our first conversation about Geordi being in the 3rd season, and he asked, "Is there anything you would like to see, right, in terms of his progression as a character?" And I knew immediately what I wanted to address, and that was the fact that Geordi didn't have healthy relationships with women, right? In Booby Trap, he was pretty much a stalker. He stalked Dr. Thea Brahms, and that's not cool. The man created a holographic image of a woman and then dated her. That's like, that's not okay.
Don't cancel Geordi, okay? Don't cancel.
So it was really important for me to rehabilitate Geordi's canon, right, where women were concerned. And I said I wanted to be a family man. I wanted to have a healthy family relationships. And Terry did me one better. He gave Geordi not one, but 2 daughters. And that was pretty cool.
Amazing, yeah. So before we get into our audience questions, can you take us back to when you were first cast as Geordi LaForge? Was from the very beginning, I assume that they had plans for him to be blind with the visor. But that character kind of morphed and shifted a little bit. So tell us about the early days of Geordi and how you got comfortable in his shoes or in his visor.
Well, first of all, I have to say that I hadn't, as an actor, I hadn't wanted anything like Kunta ever until Geordi came along. I really, really, really wanted that gig. I wanted that part. I grew up watching the original series with my family, seeing the show was really important to place for me and people who look like me in the future can. So getting that job was like, I was so happy to be along for that ride and to be able to meet Gene and express my love and admiration for what he had created. The very first scene I read was a two-hander with Jordy and Data, and they identified in the scene. It never made it to the show, but they wrote it for the auditions. Jordy and Data in the scene formed a team that they called perceivers, because Jordy's eyes and Data's brain saw the world in a very similar way. They saw the world for what it was, with no illusions. And I love that. What survived was the relationship between Data and Jordy. They had that real bond. And part of what Brent and I played all of those years was the perceivers, which y'all never knew about.
Inevitably, fans ask questions about, they always ask a couple of the same questions, and so let's throw these out of the way. So, favorite episode or moment or scene for Jordy over the years?
I don't know, I think like my favorite episode of Next Gen is Second Chances, not because of the character of Jordy, but because it was my first episode as a director. You know, I had two Jonathan Frakes. One Jonathan Frakes is a lot. Yeah. Two Frakes in an episode is really, it's not fun. He is awesome and was awesome.
I always hope we see Tom Stryker again somewhere.
He's out there.
Yeah. All right, let's go with our questions here. So, tell us your name, how many awesome cons it's been. Question.
Hi, my name is Tim from Alexandria. This is my 9th awesome con.
Wow, way to go.
And first I want to thank you for being a huge part of my childhood with Reading Rainbow and The Next Generation. I especially love the episode of Reading Rainbow where you took us on the tour of the Enterprise. That combined two of my loves. And my brother was a huge influence on me getting into The Next Generation. And anyway, my question is, relating to the episode Identity Crisis, my high school physics teacher actually wrote the script to that episode. So I was wondering what you thought of the episode.
Tim, are you still in touch with your teacher?
Yes, I am.
All right. Would you tell your teacher for me that being a lizard, freaking high point of my career. Thank you.
All right, Mike over here, so go ahead.
Hi, my name is Liam, and this is my first con.
All right, Liam.
My question is, what inspired you to do Star Trek?
Well, like I said, I was a huge fan. I watched Star Trek. I watched the original series with my family during the 60s and the 70s, like all the time. So I was really, really thrilled to audition. It's kind of difficult to explain how much Star Trek has meant to me in my life, and then to have gone on and become a member of that storytelling has truly been amazing, really remarkable. I feel incredibly fortunate, very blessed.
Remember back in the days when there was no DVR, no TiVo, no VHS, anything. You just had to catch it when it was on, right?
That's right.
And when it was on, it was like, hey, Star Trek is on.
Or in reruns.
Yeah, right. And everyone's having to watch it because no one was going to come on again.
Right. Hey, Liam,
Yes?
enjoying Awesome Con?
Yes.
But here's the question. Will you be back next year?
Yes, probably.
Give a follow. Not 100% committed, but just keep his options open.
He's keeping his options open. It's likely he'll be back.
Except for the parents.
Yeah, here you go. Hi.
Hi, my name is Heatherly. This is my fourth or fifth or something awesome time. I have a question for you about book banning. But first I want to say thank you. When I was a child, I was raped. And Star Trek and the cast and the crew, the writers, you created a safe space for me, which enabled me to escape my trauma for a while until I was able to get the professional counseling I needed to heal. So thank you.
Thank you.
My question, in my town and in towns across America, people are banning books because they acknowledge
they're idiots.
they books acknowledge that racism exists, that queer people are real, that sex is a part of the human experience. What do you think is the best way to fight back against it?
Fight back. Don't go for the okie doke, right? It's not okay to ban books. Civilized societies don't ban books. So resist. Resist.
So we would love to ask, do you have a favorite book in your past that you return back to, and or do you have a current book that you would like to recommend people to check out? It could be any topic on anything.
Well, when I got what reading was, I was like in the third, fourth grade, and the book was Captain's Courageous by Rudyard Kipling. And I remember at the end of the book, I turned to the last page, I closed the book, and for the next couple of days I had this profound sense of missing that world that I was in. To this day, when I'm reading a particularly good piece of fiction, I slow down the last few chapters to forestall that inevitable sense of depression. I didn't know what it was then. I know what it is now. It's depression, right? I'm leaving that world that I've become completely enmeshed in, and there's a profound sadness that descends. That's what reading is all about for me. Losing myself in a good story. Yeah.
Right on.
Happy Father's Day. To start off. My name is Billy. I have to crouch a little bit. This is my third awesome con based in DC. So when I think about your career, I think about roles that center around social justice, teaching us how to make the world a better place. Big fan of Captain Planet, by the way.
Let our host combine.
So along that vein, what do you want to continue to teach us and teach humanity about social justice and about what we can do to make this world better?
What a great question. I think it's important to really learn how to be a human being, right? And for me, human beings have empathy and compassion for other people. That's why I think reading is so important. It introduces you to different ways of looking at the world, different people who inhabit it, different ideas and ways to look at life. It's not that complicated. Just be a good damn human being.
Thank you so much. Hi. Go ahead.
Hi.
Is that a cape you're wearing?
Yes.
Nice. I could never get away with wearing a cape. But you pulled it off.
Oh, Jordan McCabe. Pretty fly. I don't
Think?
Yeah. Agreed. You can bend it out.
Note for the costumers, if Legacy ever gets underground.
My name is Tyler. I believe this is my 8th AwesomeCon. And I had a question regarding, I recently just got and started the autobiography of Martin Luther King Jr. that you narrated and won a Grammy for. And I wanted to know how was your experience basically narrating and talking through the life of such a great civil rights leader.
It was incredibly intimidating. Ultimately a lot of fun. I think what people forget, because he was such an amazing orator, was that King was a beautiful writer. I mean, that man could write his ass off. He really could. And I was reminded of that while reading some of his speeches in the book. The man organized his ideas in such an eloquent, elegant manner. If you haven't read any of his speeches, do yourself a favor. They're quite inspiring, and he really does speak to the heart of what being a good human being looks like, smells like, tastes like, sounds like. King had it right.
Thank you so much.
Hi. My name's Dominic. It's, I think, my 4th AwesomeCon, and I want to preface this by saying I've been really impressed by these very deep philosophical questions that have been asked, and feel very bad I'm about to ask a silly one. Do you recall how you were approached for the appearance of the entire TNG cast in Family Guy, the cameo, when you were all kidnapped by Stewie?
I remember being very excited, because who doesn't love Family Guy? Yeah, I was stoked. I don't know if you guys noticed, but in a situation like that, rarely are you all in the same room at the same time. You record your part separately. So I couldn't wait to see the episode, to see what everybody else was doing. I don't think I read the script. I read the pages, so I had no idea about the crazy straw. I was completely caught off guard by the crazy straw, which is good. I think it's nice to be surprised in life.
Do you recall the first time you saw Encounter at Farpoint, like what you were doing when you saw it for the very first time? Saw yourself on screen?
Well, I'd seen myself on screen before, so that wasn't a surprise. Seeing myself on screen with my eyes covered, however, was. That was new. There must have been a screening before we came on air. There must have been. I just remember being, I was in Star Trek, man. Come on, it was like amazing.
Hi, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Liam, and I was just going to ask, what was your
Liam.
favorite? What?
How many awesome content you've seen?
Oh, sorry.
Everybody else. Okay. All right.
What was your favorite Star Trek episode of Next Generation, preferably, that you worked on?
That I worked on, aside from Second Chances, you mean? I always like the holodeck episodes, the Holmes and Watson episodes, and the Robin Hood. The Robin Hood episode is actually a lot of fun, dressed up. Yeah. It's like being in a comic. Yeah.
There should have been a Comic-Con episode where they went to a Comic-Con on the holiday. That would be perfect.
They did that in Galaxy Quest. Fun fact, the man who directed Galaxy Quest, Dean Paraso, was the videographer. He was the director of photography for several years on Reading Rainbow.
All right, let's shoot over here. Go for it.
Happy Father's Day, brother.
Thank you, Brandon.
Who is that in your arms?
This is Peyton. This is her first AwesomeCon.
First of May, hopefully.
So my name is Cameron. This is my fourth awesome con. And my question is, what void did you think was left behind with the cancellation of Reading Rainbow?
What void was left behind? Well, I still think that there is a place for technology and education. We proved that with the reboot of Reading Rainbow as an app on tablet computers. I think that, you know, unfortunately, there aren't that kind of educational programs for kids. What I mean is stealth education, right? Where you're learning when you really aren't aware how much you're absorbing. I wish there was more programming like that for kids, and I certainly feel that Reading Rainbow fits into that category. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And happy birthday.
Hi, I'm Amanda. For the last 2 years, my husband and I have spent our anniversary weekend here at Awesome Con, so this is my second. Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Married 21 years.
And they said it with the laugh.
They really did.
A little anger in her voice.
We had to deal with racism because my husband is mixed, so that was a big part of it. It's not related to that, but it's actually related to the question the gentleman before me asked. I'm a big fan. I was 5 when Rainbow came on. I grew up with you. All of a sudden, I've seen the Next Generation. Hey, it's the Reading Rainbow guy! And so you were a big part of my favorite character in the Star Trek universe. But my question does come because I would love to see you do more projects. And I know you're big at charity, but do you have any projects that coming up that help with literacy? I know I'm a big fan of you, Dolly Parton, because of that. I'm homeschooling mom before. And you were a big, important part of my life because I'm an avid reader. And what sort of projects do you see for the future for you and encouraging literacy among children and people of all ages?
Well, right now I am executive producer of a documentary that is out called The Right to Read, which frames early childhood literacy as a civil right. Right now in America, 1/3 of all fourth graders cannot read at grade level, are functionally illiterate. About 20, 25 years ago, we abandoned scientifically based, phonics-centered instruction for something called whole language, and that boondoggle has been the bane of my existence for the last quarter century. So the documentary is out, and that's the part of where my focus is right now. I've just spending so many years encouraging literacy in children. I'm simply devoting my time now to making sure kids learn how to read properly.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. This is my first Awesome Con. And I took off today. I turned down tours to come be here with you to have the chance for this question. I'm so thrilled you're here for Juneteenth. I wish I could say the DC tour guide community was more diverse. African heritage guides are only in the dozens. There are maybe a dozen each Asian.
In Chocolate City?
Yes. There are maybe a dozen each Asian, Latino, Jewish American guides. I'm the only Korean heritage licensed guide.
This is insane.
Yeah. Happy to help you, Tony, with the rest of your trip here. So.
I asked them what to do tomorrow.
earlier in the day.
Gotcha.
So we have all persisted and persevered while paying the price at different times for telling whole history tours, for daring to tell the whole story of large-scale human traffickers like George Washington. And we've been removed from student touring groups, we've had social media slander, but still we persist. And when I do that, I try to help my guests visualize context, times, and history by referring to great Hollywood productions like The Help, Solomon Northup, 12 Years a Slave, and your production of Roots. I did not think the original Roots could be improved upon, but you gave a broader, richer, deeper story. I just used it doing an underground railroad tour yesterday in Leesburg, Virginia. And because it's Juneteenth, I don't know if people here realize this, but we're an 8-block walk from the archives where the original Emancipation Proclamation is only on display. this weekend.
It toured about 10 years ago. It came to the Reagan Library in Southern California. I wept.
It's a very fragile document. The new archivist under our current president is trying to make the necessary storage changes for it to be on permanent display. But I'm curious as to, are there personal traditions you've developed regarding how you celebrate Juneteenth? And also, Band of Brothers plays every Memorial Day, Veterans Day weekend on TV. And I'm of the humble opinion, no one's asking me in Hollywood, at programming, but your roots should be played every MLK and Juneteenth weekend.
I think that the tradition that I observe more than any other is doing whatever the hell I want to do because my ancestors bled and died for it. This weekend I get to be with y'all. Not bad.
Thank you so much.
My name's Joe. This is my 4th Awesome Con, I believe, and the rest of my family's here too.
Happy Father's Day, Joe.
Thank you very much, and to you as well. It's their 2nd or 3rd Awesome Con for us. I was wondering, you've been connected to the written word for a long part of your career. You've been connected to science fiction for a long part of your career. You wrote a science fiction novel. You were doing all of these things, any one of which would be a full-time job, I think, for most writers or actors. That would be the only thing they would work on, and yet you were doing a lot of them concurrently. So I was kind of curious, specifically, did writing Aftermath give you any kind of insight into, like, the job that the writers on Star Trek were doing, or any other writers that you've worked with? And how in the world did you balance all of these commitments while you were doing them all at the same time?
The universe is expanding.
Use the inverse tachyon pulse.
I consider at this point in my life that, unbeknownst to me, my end game was becoming a storyteller. And what that means to me is I'm able to make a living as an actor, as a writer, as a director, as a producer, as a podcaster, and public speaker. My job is to tell stories, and I'm blessed to be able to do that in a lot of different modalities. I don't do them all at the same time. Sometimes they overlap in a singular job, but I get to do them, but not all at the same time, which is good. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. This might be our last question. We have time. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Is either a bomb or a fiber.
It's been staring me in the face this entire time.
All right, go.
You get the last question. Don't suck.
All right, my name is Townsend, and this is my son Christopher. This is my 5th Awesome Con with my adult child, and my first Awesome Con with his daughter, Mary Emma, who's 18 months.
Wow. 3 generations of the same family at Awesome Con.
That's the next generation.
That's the next generation.
I want to thank you for reading Rainbow, and it was actually June 6th, 1983 that it came out. He was raised on reading Rainbow. He was born in 82. And I'm just so grateful to you for reading Rainbow. I would also like to ask a compound question, and the first of which is, what is the most challenging role you have done? And the second is, what is the most meaningful role that you have done?
Roots, Punta Kinte, most challenging. Most fulfilling, being the host of Reading Rainbow.